Relationships and Realizations. Welcome back, everybody. This week I have a very special friend of mine with me, my friend Jamie, who I've known for quite a long time. And I think that it's really important to discuss not only relationships and love relationships, but just relationships in general. How people interact with each other, how people, build relationships throughout their lives, and not just romantic relationships, but friendships, business relationships, and how it carries forward through your life, and how sometimes those relationships are pretty crappy and you learn from those and you build from those. So, like I said, I have my friend Jamie here, and Jamie, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Hi, thanks for having me on, Rena. I really appreciate it. First, let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. I am from Kentucky, so I do have an accent.
We won't hold that against you. It's okay.
I'm born and raised in Kentucky. I left Marines after high school. Went to college for a couple of years, but wasn't my jam. So after that, I joined the Marines. I was there for 12 years. 12 years on East Coast, West Coast, spent time in Japan. While in, 9/11 happened. Had a couple combat tours under my belt. After 12 years, it just got kind of crazy, and I felt like I served my country. I served it well, and it was just time to go. And then got out and got lost. Life on the outside of the Marines has been very different.
I think we get used to the structure of the Marine Corps, and as much as we complain about it while we're in, once it's kind of pulled out from under us, or once we go out into like the wide world, it's a very different animal out there.
Yeah, kind of. I think my story's going to be a little different. And after the Marine Corps, just battled through demons and accusations and blaming me and the world and just a big long future pity party. Ultimately, through a series of fortunate and unfortunate events, it was going really good. Did a great job. Off to a really good start. Working in C-suite, making really good money, and have a significant purpose in life and working every day and driving toward that.
That's awesome. So just kind of going back a little bit, like I've mentioned to you guys before, obviously I was on active duty. That's where Jamie and I met. We definitely met at a very interesting time in both of our lives. There was, not to go into too much detail, but there was quite a bit of nonsense happening at the duty station that Jamie and I met at. And because of those issues, it's interesting because we both had our issues that were going on at that time, but we both took something different away from it. Our issues were a little bit different. It was based in the same place, but we had different things going on. But I think for me, obviously I can't speak for you, but for me, the circumstances and the issues that I faced definitely had a really big impact on me and my thought process about the military, and, really had me questioning if I wanted to stay in the military. And, I did for a couple more years, but I think that was really kind of the catalyst for me. And it's interesting that one place can have such a huge impact on your mentality and your viewpoint. And, you think you have everything all pulled together, and then it just kind of gets pulled out from under you. And I know your situation was a little bit different because there were other things that before you and I met that were happening. But do you think, or do you feel, I guess, that it was just kind of one instance, or was it something that, was it a snowball effect where there were other things that were going on that you just kind of didn't deal with, or what do you think?
It's a loaded question. Again, like I said, I've gone through a myriad of things, and, why my life is so different, not how I imagined it to be. Coming to where I'm at this point in my life, I ask people, how do you know the sky is blue? You ask somebody what color the sky is, and they're going to tell you it's blue. Mm-hmm. And the reason why we know that is because when we were kids, somebody told us the sky was blue. We were taught that.
Right.
And so, it's easy for me to sit here on paper and But I had a difficult time transitioning, from the Marine Corps to being a civilian. I've had a difficult time with relationships or marriages or, whether it's, personal, professional, or otherwise. The Marine Corps, brainwashed me. I mean, like, there's so many different things that I've gone through all these cycles of that pity party, why I am the way I am. But the reality is, I wasn't taught, coping skills. I wasn't taught life lessons early on. Come from a broken home. I sit here and, like, when you peel back at, the layers of the onion, the reason why I joined the Marines was because I was looking for a father figure. And like I said, this is my story. It's a little different. Probably, maybe atypical, maybe the same. I don't know. But, the servitude in the Marines was something that I was so desperate for. And I fit the Marine Corps model very well because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, my father he hated me, didn't like me. I was always a bastard kid. He never wanted me. You name it. He was a piece of guy. Wasn't the best, wasn't the worst, but could have been a lot better for sure. But at the end of the day, like, I was so thirsty to please him, you never could. Didn't matter. I feel like I did some pretty exceptional things, in my childhood, all the way up to, middle school, high school, multi-sport athletics, ROTC, the all-state, competitions. I was a hell of a boxer. Made all the way to Olympic trials. Nothing ever good enough. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, fine, fucking, I'm out. I'm going to go on my own and do this. Tried the college thing on my own. I just felt so mindless. Like, I had no direction, no purpose or anything. I was like, I just wanted the easy way out. And I went to the Marines, and all of a sudden, people started telling me what to do when I did it. And they're like, hey, good job, Corporal Baker. Great job. Cool. See you next week. Do that shit again. And I was like, wow. And I got that gratification. I got that feedback. Then you go through 12 years of that. You caught me, during the transition from being that person of servitude, toward that leadership position. And I didn't do very well at it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of reasons why. And a big piece of that was that, I just didn't have the mechanisms built into me to do that at that time. Or I didn't know how to harness it, channel it, recognize it. And so ultimately, just started like, not my thing. Didn't really want to go further with it. And when I got out, I was exactly in the same situation I was in before I went in. I was mindless, lost, no direction. I didn't have anybody to tell me what to do. And in addition, I'm 15 years older, 12 years older, 13 years older, and I was when I went in. And now I'm behind the power curve because everybody else is making babies and buying houses and all this shit. And so now there's all this other added stress and pressure that I unnecessarily put on myself. And it just became a shit show.
Right.
I mean, like a total, absolute shit show. And then the pity party started, and the alcohol and the drinking and the shitty relationships, and you name it. And it was just this massive snowball effect. I just had to get my shit together. I mean, at the end of the day, I had to get my shit together. Nobody was going to do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
I did get some help, for learning, some coping stuff and how to build relationships, not just with other people, professionally and personally, but with myself. Started learning those things that I should have learned back when I was 5, 7, 10.
Right. Was there a specific point that you got to where you were like, okay, enough is enough. Like, I need to really take a look at it. Or was it something that you just kind of picked at and then you just noticed a gradual escalation of wanting to change or wanting to look inward? Or was there something specific that you were like, all right, this is it. I need to fix myself.
I mean, like, you just run out of shit to blame.
Right.
Seriously. And that's what happened to me. I just ran out of shit to blame. You look in the mirror and you're like, oh my God, I'm so disgusted with myself. I'm going to make a change. I'm disgusted with my appearance. If I fix my appearance, then I'll feel better. And that's what's wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you do. You go to the gym, you start, eating like a fucking bird or a rabbit. You start killing yourself in the gym. Weight pulls off, because you're just doing it in the most unhealthy way possible. And then all of a sudden, now you find out you're still fucking miserable and you're hungry. And then you say, well, fuck, what else is it? And you start looking at your job, which that's what I did next. And I was like, I'm skinny and I look great, but I'm still fucking miserable and I'm hungry. So it must be my job.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, fuck it, I'm out. Quit my job, started my own business, train a dog, because that's what I did in the Marines, and I know it very intimately. A lot of training dogs. Now all of a sudden, I didn't have a boss, I didn't have an employer. I was working for myself, and I was making over $10 grand a month in cash, and I was fit. Now I'm skinny, hungry, and bored.
Mm-hmm.
And like now I have all this extra free time on my hands because I'm working for myself, and I have money in my pocket. I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. I'm even more miserable than what I was before. So then I just started fucking drinking. I always drank, but I started really drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Bottle every 2 days, 3 days, whatever the case. Bourbon was a choice. I could say all about it, but at the end of the day, it was way out of control.
Right.
All of a sudden, I was like, I can't do this. Shit's got to change. I wasn't married at the time. That was just a big shit show, too. Not because of her, because of me. But at the end of it, I was like, fuck it, it's got to be her.
Mm-hmm.
It's not me. It's not my weight. It's not my physical appearance. It's not my job. You're making plenty of money. Work for myself. I get to play with dogs. Get the best coworkers on the planet, it's got to be the wife. So I keep her to the curb. I was like, fuck it, I'm out. We didn't have any kids or anything, so I didn't own any. I didn't responsible, not responsible for any kids. Done. Now I'm skinny, hungry, bored, alcoholic, full blown,
right.
And I'm lonely. And I literally got rid of every single thing in my life that I possibly could, where I had nothing left to blame but me. And I had a big problem with that because I'm me.
Right.
And so, when you talk about that culminating point, that breaking point, it's when you sit there and look back, it's almost, it's insane how, articulate, you can look back and go, wow, this happened, and this happened, and this happened. It's this escalation piece. And so I try to get rid of me. And when you think you hit rock bottom, and that's when you're suicidal, you don't really know what rock bottom is until you fell at suicide. Mm-hmm. And then you start to go into a different level of rock bottom. Like, fuck, I can't, I'm such a fuck up, I can't even kill myself right. That's bad.
Oh my gosh. I don't mean to laugh, but it's one of those things, I guess, where I get, because we're such close friends, and for me to even think that you even got to that point, it just hurts my heart. It makes me want to burst into tears. So I guess that's for me to laugh is my coping mechanism of, how low you got. And, I guess I should say that at this point, you and I hadn't really, we had kind of fallen away as friends. So it wasn't anything. I wish that I could have done something, but knowing you didn't reach out. So it's I didn't even know that all of this was going on the way that it was. So definitely not to absolve my guilt. But still, it's one of those things where you, on the outside looking in, you're like, oh, I should have known. I should have reached out. But I mean, would anything that I could have said or anybody would have said to you would have changed anything? Or was this something that you felt you had to go through?
I'm hard-headed, stubborn, ignorant, and a dude. I thought about that. At that point in my life, there was nothing anybody could tell me that would have made me change my way. Mm-hmm. It would have, brought me clarity, which is, it's funny that you say that because it was an isolated moment, a very singular, isolated moment that spanned over the course of about 58 minutes that changed my life forever. And it gave me more clarity, more direction, and more purpose than I've ever had in my entire life. So to say that, up to the point when, I was suicidal and I was done, I was tapping out, there was, at that point, I still wasn't listening. It took after that, I was like, fuck, there's got to be better. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I'm done. I was just so defeated that I was just beaten. I beat myself into submission. And then it was at that point when I started to listen. I didn't know who to listen to. I just knew that, let me get to the VA and get them help. Mm-hmm. And so I ran to the VA. They checked me in. And I mean, here I am, a normal dude. What is normal? But I never in my life imagined myself being at the psych ward. Mm-hmm. The people that was severe mental disability. And I was like, this is my life. This is it. But, I told myself, I put myself there because I need to be there. And it was okay, 5 days. I remember most of it. They do keep you pretty doped up, but at the end of it, I knew that when they were releasing me, I needed to get, a professional help.
Right.
Like, not emergency help, professional help. So, and, I had some people in my life, my mom and some friends and family that found this recovery center down in Tennessee. And that's where I went right after I got out of the hospital. I literally got in the car, and it was like, do not pass go straight to rehab. This is where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
And it was rehab for alcohol, and it was alcohol, drugs, and PTSD. I went down there and I did the 30 days. And the first day that I was there changed my life. Absolutely changed my life. It was the best experience. So, to answer your question, was there anything that anybody could say to me that would change my shit? And the answer is yes, once I started listening.
Mm-hmm.
Once I beat myself into submission, where I was just, here I am, Jesus, take the wheel, let's go. It got to that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm at rehab the first day, and I was like, wow. I'm in there with, just people, crackheads. I mean, oh my God, I was just like, this is it. Like, wow, God, how did I get here? But I knew how. It verbatim, how I got to that point. And that's what I just kept telling myself, you're here because you put yourself here.
Mm-hmm.
You're here because your way didn't work. You're here because this is where you need to be. And I just like, fuck it, I'm here. I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been to an AA meeting before in my life. No clue what to expect, So there was 22 dudes, including me, sitting around in a circle. This one guy named Mike, he's like, he starts off with a script. Hey, welcome to AA. And I was like, oh my God, this is fucking awful. Like, it was bad. And then he gets on, talking about the script for 5 minutes. And he's like, okay, no crosstalk, no war stories. Let's just open up the floor for anybody who wants to talk. And it was this awkward silence after that. It was silence for 5 minutes. It seemed like forever.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, he was like, cool, you know what, let's do something different. Hey, new guy, what do you want to talk about? I was like, I want to talk about how this shit works. I was like, because I don't think it does. He was a big dude. His name was Jim. He was massive. I mean, he was 6'2", probably weighed 220, just cock diesel dude, whatever. He was in the smoke pit earlier talking about this is his 18th time in rehab. 18. He got kids.
Wow.
And so I was in a meeting, and I was like, that big dude over there, he said you said this was your 18th time in rehab. I was like, you were bragging about that shit. Like, you proud of this? You proud this where your life is at? He got mad. He started puffing up like a little puffer fish. I didn't care. I was like, what I want to talk about? I want to talk about how this shit works. So it was obviously it didn't work for him. 18 times. Just so proud. And I had this other kid over there, 17 years old, a little rich boy, right? I called him Map Quest because his arms had so many track marks on it. It looked like a road map.
Wow.
It was disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting. He was 17. Financial filthy rich, born with a silver spoon. Never had to pay for anything. Spent $300,000 in a month on drugs.
Holy
That's
cow.
what I learned about drugs, like crocodile. Never even heard of crocodile. I mean, I was a military police canine handler. Never heard of crocodile in my life. This dude was putting battery acid and antifreeze in his veins. It was insane. So I was like, your life's off to a good start. I wish you could have everything. Like, how many people beg to be in your position, but here you are. You're probably here because you can't find any more veins because they're all blown out.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about this all the time. All the time, this is my first day. I don't know how this shit works. That big dude that I called out first, Jim, man, he finally, he just stands up, kicks his chair back. I was like, oh, it's go time. Like, it was go time. He's puffing. Everything about him is red. I mean, he started to sweat. Steroids are sweating out of his fucking body, right? Mm-hmm. He was like, fuck you. I don't know who you are, but nobody's ever called me on my shit like that in my life, and now, you know what? Fucking nobody's ever going to do it again. He's like, you're right. This is my 18th time in rehab. I was fucking laughing about it. I was joking about it like it was a badge of honor. He's like, I don't think I've ever been so fucking, nobody's ever called me on my shit like that ever. I was like, well, stick around. So then he goes on and starts telling the story about how he grew up. He talked about how, he seen people die, he killed people, because they OD'd because of the drugs he gave them. And all of a sudden, man, when he was telling the story, it was a story. It started to sound familiar. He gets done, this little kid over there, with, a little map quest. He starts telling his story. And then, there were some things that started sounding familiar in his story, too. In a matter of 15 minutes, it was the most prolific eye-opening, changing experience in my life. And at the end of it, there was this guy there called Little Jesus. It was like, he looked just like it. He wore sandals, he had long hair. It was just, the dude was beautiful. I mean, he was absolutely gorgeous. It's my 6th time rehab. None of this made sense until today. Until just now, until about 45 minutes ago, none of it made sense. And he's like, it all makes sense now. He's like, and I don't know the answer. It's not like cliche, but you know what? It actually makes sense. He's like, you ask how it works, and the answer is in the question, how. And you have to be honest, open, and willing. And I took what he said and I applied it to every aspect of my life, including and especially relationships. When you sit there and say, how things work, how relationships work, you have to be honest, open, and willing. You have to be honest with yourself. If you can't be honest with yourself, you can never be honest with anybody else. It doesn't matter if you can't be honest with yourself. You have to be open to changing the way you think, open to different views, open to different values. And I struggle with that one because I'm so freaking hard-headed. Mm-hmm. But I have to be open to change the way I think and change the way I am. And I'm a stepfather. I'm a stepfather of an 11, 13-year-old. I've never owned kids in my life. I don't have any. None. Now I've got 2 that are in the middle of their prime. Holy shit. I had to be open to changing the way I think, and it's still a struggle. Mm-hmm. But the bottom one, the last one, is willingness. You got to be willing to do the work. And, this isn't like hey, it's January 4th, new year, new you. Let's go to the gym. It's every single fucking day. You have to wake up and you have to do the work. And those things, that one little hour-long thing changed my life. Mm-hmm. But there's a little bit more to it. One was I felt like I was given the secret to success. How to do things is in the question. How? You have to be honest, open, and willing. You have to be honest with yourself. Can't be honest with yourself. Can't be honest with other people. Once you start to be honest with yourself, being honest with other people becomes really easy. Being open to change the way you think, the way you do things, that's still a process. But I am willing to do the work every day. But the other thing that happened was in that meeting, it was the first time in my life that I never felt alone. Like, genuinely, I didn't feel alone. Like, I felt part of something. Mm-hmm. When I sit down and listen to Jim and Alex, Matt Quest and Mike and all them dudes, man, they all told their story. I learned that I wasn't alone because, and this is like the hours and days and months and years of pontificating on this, I learned that God didn't manufacture us. There's not a facility up there where he just manufactured motherfuckers and here you go, just because we got 2 arms, 2 legs, and, he's actually a creator. He makes us all, have different experiences. When you watch a TV show, Reyna, and I watch a TV show, we can take 2 completely different things away from that.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
But where he made us all equal was in emotion. Happy is happy. What makes you happy is different than what makes me happy. Mm-hmm. What pisses you off is different than what pisses me off. Anger, sadness, loneliness, happiness, excitement, all these different emotions, they're all the same for every single one of us. What induces those emotions are different. I didn't grow up in a house that fostered emotions. Mm-hmm. I grew up in the South with an abusive, alcoholic father. When I was sad, he would tell me he'll give me a reason to be sad for.
Right.
When I was angry, he pushed me to make me more angry, so he would be justified in fighting me and beating me. When I was happy, I got chastised because there's nothing supposed to be happy about. And when I wanted love, I couldn't go to him for it. My mom was great, she did the best she could with what she was dealing with because she was being abused too. Right. And then when those times would come up where, she would stand for me, then she would get beat. Other times when she was nurturing me, allowing me to express my emotions, she would get ridiculed and chastised too. Mm-hmm. And so everybody just learned to just shut their fucking mouth and ignore their emotions. When I started this, I said, how do you know this guy's blue? This is because somebody told you. It's the opposite of that with emotions. I never had an opportunity to explore my emotions and understand them. I didn't have an environment when I'm the most impressionable to express my emotions. And then I go to the Marine Corps, where they teach you emotions make you one of 2 things. They make you a killer or get you killed. Right. Because in combat, when you get emotional, you make rash decisions. Mm-hmm. they teach you to suppress your emotions. While in the Marine Corps, I spent, as you know, 3 years as a drill instructor. Those guys are phenomenal at only expressing one emotion.
Rage.
That's anger. Now I'm taught to suppress my emotions with the exception of anger. And, anytime, you're allowed to be angry 100% of the time, and you can't have any other emotions. And it just turned into like a massive shit show recipe for disaster.
Right.
And so, at the end all be all, when I sit there and, talk about, transitions and, the preface, like, some of the things that you wanted to talk about, I don't blame the military for the way I am. I don't blame my father. There just has to be a move forward, and that's, recognize that the children of today are impressionable. They need to have a place it's okay to express their emotions. They have to learn to talk to those. God, communication was just another piece of me that just sucked. I mean, there's so much suck about me, it's ridiculous. Well, you're not kidding. It's bad. So anyway, that's like, there's your whole podcast.
I know, right? Well, I think that it speaks volumes to your character. Yes, there are people out there that can kind of stumble into an amazing job and make a lot of money and do all this other nonsense. But, like you said, are they really happy? Are they really good people? Yeah, probably not. So, like I said, it speaks volumes to what you went through growing up, into the Marine Corps, and then what your life kind of careened out of control, basically, and you were able to pull yourself up. And there's a lot of people, you say that, well, I had no place else left to go but rock bottom. Well, there's a lot of people that still hit rock bottom and don't do anything with it. You know what I mean? And that still blame everybody else. And they can be living out on the street and they'll blame other people for their choices or their own personal actions. So it is really awesome to hear that you were able to take really shitty situations and turn them into something, turn them into learning opportunities, and you've been able to craft this, I'm not going to say amazing life because you're still building it. You're doing it. You're doing a lot better than most people that were in your situation. And I think that that's huge, and I'm super proud of you for that.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
It's not easy. There's no easy answer. There's so many different things that I've had to go through. But I think there was a culminating point, and there had to be one decision that I had to put me first. Mm-hmm. Being in servitude, always looking to please somebody, talking about relationships. I really had no identity because my identity was whatever somebody needed me to be, or whatever I thought they needed me to be. Mm-hmm. If somebody wants me to be a jokester, I'm going to be a jokester. I know a lot of jokes. What's a pirate's favorite letter?
Oh my gosh. You and your cheesy joke. Let me guess. R?
No, it'd be the C, matey. The C.
Oh my gosh.
See, I can tell jokes.
Yep. No shortage of jokes.
I can be serious. That leader, if you need me to be, you need me to stand up and beat on my chest and say, follow me, I can do that too. And that's why the Marine Corps worked out so great for me. You need me to take care of this working party? You need me to go storm this hill, this building? Cool, let's go. Let's do it. Because it wasn't just, I had, mission accomplishment. I had to do it flawlessly. Mm-hmm. Again, being a pleaser.
Right.
I had to start putting myself first. That was the first step in reinventing me or finding me or just understanding me so I could have some peace. Mm-hmm. I had to put me first. I had to make me a priority. Again, it went to how. I had to be honest with myself. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
That is a whole other podcast episode. We could talk at length about that. But again, I think that you have done a lot with a little, and I'm really proud of you. And I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and telling a small bit of your story. I know that's definitely not even skimming the surface of anything, but it really helps people that could potentially be going through the same thing to listen to your story and know that there is a way up, that there is a way out, and that they don't have to just settle, just sit there and be miserable, and you know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
You just gotta turn it on.
Exactly. So so with that, everybody, thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you enjoyed this episode. You can find all of our social media from the website, rrwithrr.com, and you can also find our other episodes. So we will see you next week, everybody. Have a good one.